Yes, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to this channel. We deal with architecture, engineering, construction, and also surveying. Actually, we deal with the life cycle of a building, from scratch to the end. That is the essence of this YouTube channel. Well, today I want to respond to a question which I've been asked quite a number of times. Wherever I go, I meet friends, I meet people who are not in the construction industry, and they're curious. They ask me, Oloch, how really do we build? What things do I need to follow before I start building my house? Which approvals do I really need to have before I can start my construction? Well, I'm right here to explain to you that today, so just keep it here. You will not be frustrated with that again. Well, so the very first thing, if you want to build a house, literally you are a client, because you really need to look for engineers, you really need to look for architects and also surveyors. So you are the client, you the one who wants to build a house, you're the client. So what happens is that if you want to build a house, most of the time clients do go to architects, right? Because architects are actually the originator of a building idea, right? A client will go to an architect, a client will explain to an architect the kind of building that they will really want to have. Okay, yeah, after an architect listens to that, an architect will come up with some rough sketches, rough ideas, and some iterations here and there. The client confirms, if it is approved, well and good, the construction, the building can continue. Well, so what really happens, on ground, is that you really actually have to know the size of the land you want to build in, right? Yeah, so number one thing is actually the client has to approach a surveyor. A surveyor will go to the site, right, to do what is called topographic survey, right? What is this topographic survey? In short, people do call it topo survey. Topo survey, you actually go there to collect data of the topography of that area. Actually, we also want to know whether we have existing things like manholes, things like utilities there. We want to know whether we have trees there. What is the terrain of that land, what is the slope of that land, right? Because all this information will help with the design process. So actually, from client, you really need to know a surveyor who will do that for you, because you actually need to know even the size of your land. I'm sure you've heard people say that I want to build a house in 50 by 100, things like that. Yeah, that is actually done by the surveyor. The surveyor will measure for you the land, and tell you this piece of land is this size. So the architect will be aware the size of the land in which he or she is designing the building. Well, after the surveyor does the topo survey, and collects all that information, he or she will just provide a topographical map. Topographical map will be showing us the location of all these utilities, all the existing things in that site. Do we have a dump site there? Do we have trees there? You have manholes. Do we have electricity poles there? Surveyor will include these ones in his topographic topo maps, to help the engineer and the architect with the design. Well, after that, now the architect can do his designs, and if the client will be happy with those designs, then the architect can go ahead and look for a structural engineer. Well, people do ask what actually is the difference between an architect and a structural engineer. Well, architect is concerned with the general idea of that building, like where do we need to have a window, where do we need to have a door, where do we need to have maybe a ramp or so. A structural engineer is now coming in to provide a skeleton, to that building, so that the loads from top can be transferred safely to the ground, right? So an architect will generally, just come up with the architectural drawings showing the location of different parameters of that building, windows, doors, the sizes, and all that, then the structural engineer will do the designs. The structural engineer will determine all the loads which are acting on that building. If it is an earthquake prone zone, the architect, the structural engineer has to determine the earthquake loads. Wind, you also have to consider wind, because wind is acting on your structure every day. Maybe the live loads there, the dead loads there. Then the engineer will do his analysis and see the forces in every member, right? Then from that, the engineer will actually carry out the design, and tell you that in this member here, maybe we need this kind of reinforcement, and all that. So architect will come up with architectural drawings, structural engineer will come up with structural drawings, well, all these drawings are subject to approvals by the mandated authorities. Well, in Kenya, where I'm based, the mandated authorities which do these approvals at the county, at the county level, there are professionals there who do the approvals. So architectural drawings and structural drawings has to be approved at the county level. You have to submit both the architectural and the structural drawings so that they can approve, because they are mandated to regulate practice. We actually have rogue architects, we have rogue engineers, we even have rogue contractors, right? So you really need to regulate them. So the county will actually regulate that. If you're familiar with the term, people call it kanjo. You hear the kanjo people have come to site. The county guys have come to site. That means you didn't follow the due process, and now they're coming for your blood, right? Yeah. So I'd advise you to avoid all these frustrations. Make sure that you get every approval from the county level all the way to the end. Well, after all this is done, actually we need an environmental impact assessment professional, who will do to you the environmental impact assessment of this project, to see the level of effects this project has on the environment, right, and come up with a report. So you have really to engage EIA specialist. I'm sorry I didn't add that to the list here, but it is a requirement. You really need to approach an EIA specialist to do that for you and submit the report, because actually most of the time, that EIA report is always required, also for approval. If it is a big project, the EIA report is required for approval. So make sure that you engage an EIA professional in that. Well, from that, if all the drawings are approved, well, the contractor can now go ahead and continue with his or her works. But there is one thing left. Contractors are also regulated by a body. I'm based in Kenya, so the body which regulates contractors is the NCA, that is the National Construction Authority. So the contractor will submit all this to the NCA for approval, and the NCA will give a contractor a go ahead, to start the construction or not to start the construction. Factors which are considered are quite a number. I don't intend to discuss that in this video. I'll actually prepare a separate video for that, which we will discuss that into details, right? Well, so after the NCA does the approval, the contractor is now at liberty to go and start his construction, right? So most of the time, the X which you usually see on buildings are from the NCA guys, the National Construction Authority guys, because maybe the contractor is not licensed and he's doing the buildings, so they have to be regulated. We have rogue professionals, we have rogue architects, we have rogue surveyors, we have rogue structural engineers, we have rogue contractors. So they have to be regulated by these authorities. So basically, this is the the steps and also the approvals which you really need for you to do a construction building in Kenya. I really do not know what happens in other countries, but I'm sure they also go through these approval systems. I'd like to know what happens in your country. You can put that in the comment section below, so that we really interact. In my country, this is what happens, and I would advise anybody who wants to undertake this construction, any construction, to always follow this due process for you to be safe, so that you can sleep well at night. Construction is a really hectic adventure, so if you don't follow these requirements, you'll really have had a time. Well, so that is it really. Unless there is any questions, you can always put them in the comment section below, so that I will have time actually to go through them and respond appropriately. If you really want to also see such videos again anytime, make sure you do subscribe here, you like this, and also you can share it with friends, right? Yeah. So that you'll be notified next time. Actually, you can turn on the bell icon there, so that you'll be notified in my next upload. Otherwise, just keep it right here. Surveying, engineering, architecture, and construction. We are here to make things easy. That is it. Thank you for now, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good time wherever you are. See you in the next video.